The mysterious signal. The sky above planet Orion was always quiet. Nothing ever changed. The stars stayed still, and the air was always calm. But that night, something was different. Something massive had appeared beyond the mountains. A bright light, too big, too strange to be natural, was glowing in the distance. Mira stood at the edge of the cliff, her eyes wide with fear and wonder. She was a young explorer, smart and curious, but not ready for what she was seeing. The light pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat in the sky. It wasn't just light, it felt alive. "This isn't a normal signal," Mira whispered to herself. Her voice shook. Her small scanner beeped wildly in her hand, showing strange symbols she had never seen before. It was not human, and it was not friendly. She turned and ran back to her camp. Her boots kicked up dust behind her as she reached her tent. Inside, everything was quiet. She tapped on her communicator and opened a link to Central Command. "Mira to base. I picked up a strong signal near Sector 7. Something's out there. Something. Massive." The voice on the other side was calm. "We received the same spike, Mira. Stay put. We'll send a research team." But Mira couldn't wait. Deep inside, she knew the signal wouldn't last. Whatever was sending it was moving. It was calling her. Not anyone else, just her. She grabbed her travel pack, tightened her boots, and headed toward her rover. The small transport hummed to life as she drove into the night. The mountains loomed ahead, tall and silent. The light grew stronger with every mile. As she climbed higher, her heart pounded louder. The road was rough, and the air felt heavy. Soon, static filled her headset. Her connection to base was gone. She was alone now. Suddenly, her rover stopped. The engine sputtered and died. She looked out the window and gasped. There it was. A massive structure hovered in the air, far above the ground. It looked like a ship, but it wasn't flying. It was floating, like it didn't care about gravity or rules. The ship was dark silver, covered in glowing blue veins. The light she saw earlier was coming from its core, shining like a giant eye. Mira stepped out of the rover. Her legs felt weak, but she walked toward it. She held up her scanner again. It showed nothing now, just blank lines, like the machine had given up. "What are you?" she whispered to the ship. The air shifted. A low hum filled the area, making the rocks around her vibrate. Then came a sound, deep, echoing, not human. It wasn't a message, it was a feeling. Fear, warning. The ship was waking up. Mira backed away, but her foot slipped. She fell hard onto the rocky ground. Her eyes stayed locked on the ship as parts of it began to move. Plates shifted. Light changed. It wasn't a ship. It was alive. She scrambled up and ran back to the rover. She tried to start it again, but it stayed dead. Panic rose in her chest. She looked behind. The ship had started to glow brighter. Then, silence. The sound stopped. The wind died. Even her breath felt too loud. Mira stood frozen. And then, slowly, the massive ship turned toward her. Not in a fast, mechanical way. It turned like a creature that had just noticed her, like it was looking. And Mira felt it. It wasn't looking at her body. It was looking at her mind, her thoughts, her fears. Something cold slid into her brain. Not pain, but pressure, questions, voices without sound. She screamed and dropped to her knees, holding her head. Then, as fast as it came, the pressure was gone. The light dimmed. The ship stopped moving, but the damage was done. Mira sat there, shaking. Her heart raced. Her body felt cold. And her mind had changed. She had seen something inside the ship. A vision. A memory. Something ancient and powerful. She had to warn someone. Anyone. But her comms were dead. And the signal, the one she followed, it had stopped. But she knew the truth now. The ship hadn't called her by mistake. It had chosen her. and she wasn't ready for how massive it truly was. Deeper into the unknown. Mira didn't sleep that night. She sat inside her dead rover, arms wrapped around her knees, staring out the cracked window at the alien ship. It was still there, huge and silent, floating above the rocks like it was waiting. The silence outside felt wrong. Too perfect. No wind, no animal sounds, no static from her broken communicator. The only sound she could hear was her own breathing, and the faint echo of what she had seen inside her mind. Whatever this ship was, it wasn't just metal. It was something more. As the sky slowly turned gray with dawn, Mira made a decision. She couldn't wait here. She had to find another way out. But more than that, she needed to know what the ship wanted. She stepped out of the rover and looked up at the floating structure. Its surface seemed to shift in the morning light, like it was changing shape very slowly, breathing even. A chill ran through her spine. Then something moved. A small part of the ship detached and floated toward her. It wasn't fast. It hovered gently, like it didn't want to scare her. But it did. It looked like a glowing orb, made of smooth black glass, with thin lines of light pulsing across it. Mira froze. Her instincts screamed at her to run. But a strange calm settled over her, like the orb was speaking without words. It wanted her to follow. "You're not going to hurt me," she whispered, more to herself than the orb. She took a deep breath and followed it. The orb led her across the rocky field, over broken terrain, and through narrow paths she didn't know existed. The entire time, the floating ship loomed above them like a dark moon. And still, no sound, no birds, no signal, no sign of life. Just her and the orb. After nearly an hour, they'd reached a giant cliffside. Part of the rock had been melted away, clearly not natural. The orb floated into the opening, lighting the dark tunnel inside. Mira hesitated. This was a mistake, her mind whispered. Go back. Hide. Run. But something deeper inside her, curiosity, maybe madness, pulled her forward. She entered the tunnel. The walls were smooth and curved, made of something not rock, not metal, not anything she had ever seen. It felt warm under her fingers, like it was alive. The orb guided her deeper, turning corners without pause. The further she walked, the more the tunnel changed. Glowing patterns appeared on the walls, then shifted and disappeared. It was like walking through a dream. Suddenly, the orb stopped. Mira did too. Ahead of her, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. And inside was something impossible. A giant sphere floated in the center of the room, humming softly. It was easily the size of a building. Around it, smaller orbs like the one guiding her floated in perfect circles. The air smelled like electricity and flowers. The sphere pulsed, and a deep sound filled the chamber, a heartbeat. Thump, thump. Mira stepped closer. Her eyes widened. The sphere was not just a machine. Inside it, she could see moving shapes, like memories, battles, planets, faces, and her own face, flickering in and out. She gasped. "What is this place?" she whispered. The orb beside her floated upward, slowly joining the others. Then the chamber changed. The walls shifted again, revealing ancient writing, symbols etched with light. Mira didn't understand them, but her brain did. Something inside her clicked, like the ship had unlocked a part of her mind. A voice, clear and soft, entered her thoughts. "We searched, and you answered. Now you must see." Her knees buckled, her mind filled with visions, stars being born, galaxies torn apart, alien civilizations rising and falling, and a war, a great war that shattered everything. And then, silence. Mira collapsed to the floor, breathing hard. The vision faded. Her body trembled. When she opened her eyes, the sphere was gone, and in its place stood something else. A tall figure, not human, glowing faintly. Its body was thin, elegant, like it was made from light and bone. It didn't speak, but Mira felt its words. "You were not ready," it said in her mind, "but now you must be." She tried to stand, but her legs were too weak. "Ready? For what?" she asked aloud. The figure didn't answer. Instead, it turned and pointed behind her. Mira looked, and her blood ran cold. A new light was approaching, not from the alien ship, but from the sky, from space. Dozens of bright dots moving fast toward her location. Ships, unknown, and coming straight for her. The swarm in the sky was no longer empty. Mira stood in the chamber, her heart pounding as she watched the lights in the sky grow larger. They weren't stars. They were ships, dozens of them, coming fast, moving like hunters. Their sharp black shapes cut through the clouds like knives, and they were not peaceful. She looked back at the glowing figure beside her. It didn't speak, but she could feel its warning in her bones. Hide. Survive. Then it was gone, vanished like smoke. Mira stumbled backward, unsure what to do. Outside, the alien structure above the valley remained silent. The orbs had disappeared. The sphere had shown her strange things. The voice had spoken in her mind. And now something dangerous was coming. She didn't know if the new ships were friends or enemies, but she had no time to wait. She ran. Her boots echoed down the smooth tunnel walls as she rushed back the way she came. The strange material under her feet almost seemed to shift, helping her move faster. The exit glowed faintly in the distance. When she reached it, the wind hit her face, cold and sharp. Above her, the sky was filled with shadows. The ships had arrived. They didn't land. They hovered in the air like a wall of death. Long, sharp arms extended from their sides, glowing red at the tips. Then, without warning, they fired. Bolts of energy slammed into the mountains near the alien structure. Rocks exploded. The ground shook. A wave of heat and dust blasted into Mira, knocking her to the ground. She covered her head, coughing, her ears ringing. The alien ship, the massive one that had sent the original signal, began to react. Its glowing blue veins pulsed faster. Strange symbols lit up along its sides. It was waking up again, but this time with power. Anger, maybe. And for the first time, it made a sound. A deep metallic roar echoed across the valley. Mira crawled behind a large rock and peeked over the top. Her eyes widened in shock. The alien ship was changing. Long arms unfolded from its underside, each one glowing with blue fire. Energy gathered at its core, and with a flash, it fired back at the incoming attackers. One enemy ship exploded midair. A shockwave followed. Two more spun out of control and crashed into the distant hills. But the swarm didn't stop. They came closer, their weapons lighting up the sky. The ground turned red and white with the glow of battle. Mira knew she couldn't stay out in the open. She looked around for shelter, but saw only the rocks and her broken rover far behind. Then she noticed something strange. In the center of the valley, where no plants ever grew, a door had opened in the ground. It hadn't been there before. A narrow staircase led downward, glowing faintly, just like the orb had. She didn't think. She ran for it. Explosions shook the earth behind her. Pieces of enemy ships rained from the sky. She reached the door and jumped down the steps two at a time. As soon as she entered, the door sealed shut above her. Darkness. Total, heavy silence. Then a low hum began again. Lights turned on, revealing a hidden corridor, smooth and metallic. This wasn't part of the original alien structure. It was something deeper, older. Mira moved slowly now, catching her breath. Her body ached, her hands were shaking, and her mind still burned with the strange visions from before. At the end of the hall, another door opened. Inside was a room filled with floating glass panels and strange tools. Alien writing moved across the walls like water. In the center of the room stood a tall pod, open, empty, humming with life. A voice echoed in her head again. You are the key. She stepped closer. The pod responded. Lights flared, and images filled the air. More visions of war, of destruction, of a galaxy tearing itself apart. And then, something else. Mira saw herself, older, stronger, leading others, standing inside the alien ship, commanding it like it was part of her. Her mouth dropped open. What is this? Why me? No answer came. Just the pulsing of the pod. An invitation. Mira placed her hand on the side. Warmth spread through her body. The pod opened wider. Outside, the battle grew louder. The alien ship was fighting back hard now, but more enemy reinforcements were arriving. Mira had no choice. She stepped inside. As the pod closed around her, a rush of energy flowed into her veins. Her heart beat faster. Her mind exploded with knowledge. Alien languages, maps of star systems, codes, memories that weren't hers. She screamed, not in pain, but in fear. This was too much, too massive. She wasn't ready. But it didn't matter. The ship had chosen her. The battle outside paused for a moment. Both sides seemed to sense something had changed. And deep underground, inside a glowing pod filled with ancient power, a human girl opened her eyes. No longer just Mira the explorer. Now, she was something more. She wakes the Ancient One. The pod hissed open. A soft mist rolled out onto the floor as lights dimmed around Mira. She stepped forward slowly, her eyes glowing faintly blue now, like the ancient ship had left something inside her. She could still feel the energy in her veins, humming like electricity under her skin. Her thoughts moved faster, clearer, louder, and they weren't just her own thoughts anymore. Something was inside her mind, guiding her, warning her. She looked around the chamber. The alien symbols on the walls were no longer strange. She could read them now. They told stories of a lost civilization, a war that broke the stars, and a weapon too powerful to control. The Guardian of the Silence. That was the name of the massive ship above. Not just a ship, a being. Part machine, part living mind, built by a race long gone, designed to protect life by any means, until it was shut down. Until she came. Mira felt her chest tighten. She hadn't been chosen by accident. The ship had been waiting for someone whose mind could connect to its systems, someone human, someone like her. She moved to the center of the chamber. A circular platform lit up under her feet. Then came the voice again. You carry the key. Will you unlock the Guardian? She didn't answer with words. Her hand lifted, glowing slightly, and a beam of light rose from the platform, connecting her to the ship's ancient mind. Outside, the battle still burned across the valley. The swarm of enemy ships circled, firing non-stop at the Guardian. Its shields were cracking. Fire rained from the sky. But as soon as Mira connected, everything stopped. Silence fell. The enemy ships hovered in place. Even the Guardian paused. Inside the chamber, the lights flared bright white. Connection complete. Mira gasped as her mind stretched, pulled upward, outward, into something massive. Her eyes glazed over as visions filled her again. She was no longer standing in a room. She was inside the Guardian now, feeling its pain, its age, its power. She saw every wire, every bolt, every memory the ship had kept locked away. And she saw the swarm. They were not just invaders. They were seekers, sent by a rival machine from a dead system. They were looking for the key too. They wanted to take the Guardian, twist it, control it. And now, they had found her. Mira screamed, but her voice didn't echo in the chamber. It echoed in the sky. The Guardian came alive. Its body shifted in midair. Wings of energy spread wide. The blue veins pulsed harder than ever. Lightning sparked across its surface, and from deep within its core, a new light began to grow. Mira's body rose into the air, surrounded by a glowing field. Her eyes glowed brighter. Her heartbeat synced with the ship's systems. They were no longer separate. They were one, and the enemy knew it. The swarm moved again, faster now, attacking from all sides. Red blasts lit the air. The ground shook. But the Guardian didn't dodge. It absorbed the energy, then fired it back tenfold. Beams of pure blue light cut through the sky, slicing enemy ships in half. One after another exploded, flaming wrecks crashing down across the valley. But there were too many. Mira's mind spun. She couldn't control everything. Her body trembled. She was too small, too weak. Then, the voice inside her whispered again, "You are not alone. We remember." And the walls of the chamber lit up. Thousands of faces appeared. Alien faces, human faces, all people who had once tried to connect with the Guardian, and failed. But now, they stood with her. Their memories, their strength, their courage, all flowed into her, not to take over, but to lift her up. And suddenly, she wasn't afraid. She raised her hands. Outside, the Guardian changed shape again, its body expanding, shields flaring, weapons unfolding from hidden parts of its frame. It roared to life, louder than any storm, louder than anything that had ever flown above this planet. And it fought back, not just with power, but with precision. It moved like it knew every move the swarm would make before they made it. Mira stood in the center of it all, her eyes wide, her arms glowing, her voice steady. "You came for a machine," she said quietly, "but I am not a machine." She looked to the sky. "I am the mind of the Guardian now, and you are not welcome here." With one final motion, she directed the Guardian's core to release its true weapon, a silent pulse of pure energy that rippled across the sky. Every enemy ship froze in place, then shattered like glass. Within seconds, the sky was empty, and the only sound was the hum of the Guardian, now still again, floating quietly above a burning valley. Mira collapsed to her knees, breathing hard, her hands trembling. It was over. But deep inside she knew. This was only the beginning. Echoes from the dark void. The battlefield was quiet now. Dust floated through the smoky air as the sun rose over the valley. The wreckage of the swarm ships burned in silence. Black metal twisted and scattered across the rocks. Above it all, the Guardian hovered, still and calm, like a storm that had finally passed. Inside the ship, Mira sat against the chamber wall. Her face was pale. Her body was shaking. The energy was gone now, like a wave that had crashed through her and left only emptiness behind. But her eyes still glowed faintly. The connection was not broken. The Guardian had bonded with her. She touched her head and whispered, "I'm still me, right?" But no answer came, just the soft hum of the ship around her, like it was listening, waiting. She tried to stand, but her legs gave way. She leaned against the cold wall, breathing slow. The images from before, the war, the faces, the memories, still played in her mind. And something new had joined them. A name. A sound that wasn't from any language she knew. Valkarath. The moment she thought it, her skin turned cold. Somewhere out in the deep dark of space, something shifted. Light years away, beyond the edge of known stars, a sleeping creature opened its eyes. Hidden beneath a dead planet, wrapped in metal and stone, it felt her. Valkarath had waited a long time. The Guardian was never meant to wake again, and no one was supposed to bond with it. But now, the human girl had changed the balance. And Valkarath remembered. Back on Orin, hours passed. Mira had managed to move again. She explored more of the Guardian, now fully awake. Doors opened on their own when she walked near them. Lights responded to her thoughts. The ship knew her now. And somehow, she knew the ship too. In the central core, a new platform rose from the floor. Floating above it was a small cube, pulsing softly with blue light. The cube spoke, not with sound, but with feeling. "The ancient enemy stirs. You have called him." Mira stared at the cube. "Who is he?" "Valkarath. Destroyer of stars, once the Guardian's twin, now its opposite. A chill passed through her spine. What does he want? To finish what he began, to burn what remains, to find the key. You. She backed away. No, I didn't call them. I didn't even know. But she knew the truth. When she had connected with the Guardian, the energy had reached far. It had touched old systems, old powers, old monsters. And now something ancient was coming. Mira stood still for a long time, trying to calm her racing heart. Then she looked up. Then we need to be ready. The Guardian responded. The lights turned red for a moment. Defense systems hummed to life. Weapons locked into place. Mira didn't feel like a scared girl anymore. She felt like something greater was waking inside her too. Days passed. The skies above Oran stayed quiet, but the stars whispered warnings. Signals came from nearby colonies. Faint, broken messages about vanishing ships, missing satellites, unknown shadows moving between planets. Mira listened to them, all inside the Guardian's control chamber. She sat in a floating chair, now part of the ship itself, her hands resting on the crystal panel before her. She had become the Guardian's voice now. The ship only moved when she commanded it. And soon, she knew she had to leave. She looked out across the valley one last time. This had been her home. But she had outgrown it. The enemy wasn't coming for Oran alone. He was coming for everything. And she had to stop him before it was too late. In the darkness between stars, Valkyrath moved. His ship was not like the Guardian. It was colder, alive, but cruel, shaped like a broken blade and bigger than any moon. It carried screams in its walls and powered itself with stolen suns. And now it was awake again. His voice echoed across dead systems. She has awakened my brother. She thinks the light can protect her. Let her come. His army began to rise. Metal beasts with no eyes, only hunger. And they were waiting. Not just for war, but for her. Betrayal between the stars. The stars looked peaceful. Mira watched them through the Guardian's observation deck as the ship floated beyond Oran's orbit. It was quiet up here. Too quiet. No signs of enemy ships. No more strange signals. Just silence between the stars. But she knew that silence was a lie. Valkyrath was out there, waiting. And time was running out. For days now, Mira had followed the map hidden in the Guardian's core. It pointed toward an old outpost once used by the builders of the Guardian. Somewhere deep in the Star Night system, lost and forgotten. The map said the outpost held a secret, something the ancient builders had hidden from Valkyrath long ago. A weapon? A warning? She didn't know. But she had to find it. The Guardian moved fast, its engines quiet and smooth. It had begun to feel like a part of her now. It responded to her thoughts, shaped its walls to fit her needs, and even protected her dreams. But still, she felt the weight of what was coming. She was no soldier, just a girl who had touched something too big. Mira stood from her chair, ready to set course again, when a voice called behind her. "You're not alone out here." She turned. It was Riven. He was a human pilot, one of the last she had rescued from a passing freighter days ago. His ship had been badly damaged, and he had floated near death until the Guardian pulled him aboard. Mira had trusted him. He was smart, charming, and seemed honest. And more than that, he understood what it felt like to be overwhelmed by the galaxy. He walked toward her now, his eyes calm. "You look tired," he said. "I haven't slept much," she answered, watching him closely. "Too much to think about, or too much to fear?" he asked with a small smile. Something about his tone made her skin crawl. She took a step back. "Why are you here, Riven?" He paused, then shrugged. "Because the stars are watching, and they want the key." Her heart stopped. Riven raised his hand, and a thin black device sparked to life on his wrist. The lights in the Guardian flickered. A sudden pain shot through Mira's head. She dropped to her knees. You? You're with Valkarath, she gasped. Riven walked slowly toward her, his voice calm and cruel. I never left him. I was placed near that freighter weeks ago, waiting for you to wake the Guardian. You were always the target. The Guardian's walls pulsed, trying to fight the signal. But Riven's device was strong. Dark waves spread across the ship like poison in water. You think you control this ship, he whispered. It was never yours. It belonged to the builders, and the builders belonged to him. Mira gritted her teeth and reached out, trying to reconnect with the ship. But something blocked her. Riven's signal had created a barrier. The Guardian was slipping away. She had seconds. And then, something answered inside her. Not a voice this time. A memory. A vision of her first connection. The faces. The energy. The choice. She reached deeper into her mind. Past the pain. Past the fear. And found light. Her body lit up with a soft blue glow. Riven's device sparked wildly. He stumbled backward, shouting, "What are you doing?" Mira stood slowly, her eyes burning with light. "I am the key," she whispered. "Not you." With a scream, she unleashed a wave of pure energy. It blasted through the control room, shattering Riven's device and throwing him across the chamber. The Guardian responded instantly. Its lights returned. Systems rebooted. The dark signal vanished. And Riven. He lay crumpled on the floor, coughing. Mira walked over to him. "Why would you serve something like Valkarath?" He looked up with bloody lips. "Because power doesn't care who controls it. It only needs a hand to hold the blade." Then he passed out. Mira didn't speak. She turned away, her hands shaking. Her trust had been broken. And now she knew the enemy was smarter than she thought. Valkarath wasn't waiting in some distant place. He was already moving, already inside her path. She looked at the star map. The outpost was near, and she would get there first. But deep inside, she knew this wasn't just about stopping Valkarath anymore. This was about proving she could carry the weight of the Guardian. Alone, the last light of the stars, the Guardian moved through the void like a silent shadow, its lights dimmed to avoid being seen. Mira stood in the heart of the ship, her hands gripping the edge of the control panel. Her breathing was steady, but her thoughts were not. She had survived betrayal, war, and ancient powers. But this final journey felt different. It felt like an ending. The map had brought her to the edge of the Starnight system. Around her, broken moons drifted like bones. Shattered worlds hung silent in space, their surfaces burned black. No signs of life, no signals, nothing. Only the dead silence of something long forgotten. And in the middle of it all, the outpost. It wasn't a station like she expected. It was a sphere, perfectly smooth, the size of a small planet, made of dark silver covered in ancient runes. It floated without moving, without spinning, without life. But it was not dead. As the Guardian drew near, a low hum filled the air. Mira felt it in her chest. A call. She closed her eyes and whispered, "This is it." The Guardian slowed to a halt, hovering a few hundred meters from the sphere. A single doorway opened on the surface, round, glowing, waiting. Mira stepped into the small pod that would carry her across. "Ship," she said quietly, "if I don't return." But the ship answered with a pulse of warmth. "We are one. If you fall, so do I." The pod launched. As it crossed the space between, Mira looked down at her hands. The soft blue glow inside her was flickering, weaker than before. The closer she got to the sphere, the heavier her body felt. Like gravity was bending around something impossible. The pod reached the surface and clicked into place. The door opened. Mira stepped out. The corridor inside was narrow and silent, lit by a soft purple glow. The walls pulsed with strange patterns, alive, but ancient. She walked slowly, each step echoing around her. Then she entered the heart of the sphere. And she saw him. Valkarath. He didn't look like a monster, not at first. He looked like a statue, tall, thin, motionless. His skin was metal. His face had no eyes, no mouth, only a black surface that reflected her face back at her. But she felt him watching. He spoke, not with sound, but through the walls, through her blood, through her memories. You brought the Guardian. Brave. Foolish, but brave. Mira didn't answer. She stepped closer. You are not strong enough to hold it, the voice said. It will burn you in the end. Maybe, Mira whispered, but at least I didn't run from it. Valkarath moved, slowly, fluid like liquid shadow. The builders feared me. They locked me here, because I showed them truth. The galaxy is not saved by peace. It is controlled by fear. His body shifted into something darker, wings of shadow, claws of black light. I can take the Guardian from you, make it perfect again. Mira raised her hands. Her glow flared again, brighter than before. You'll have to kill me first. Valkarath laughed, a soundless vibration that made the chamber tremble. That was always the plan. He struck. A wave of black energy shot across the room. Mira raised her arms, creating a shield of light. The blast hit, sending her flying into the wall. Pain surged through her body. She stood up, barely. He attacked again. This time she dodged, then countered, sending a beam of blue light from her hands. It hit his chest, making him stumble, but he recovered too fast. Valkarath rushed her. She screamed and unleashed everything. Light and shadow collided in the center of the sphere. Explosions of energy cracked the floor. The rooms on the walls began to glow red. The outpost couldn't hold the power. It was collapsing. But Mira didn't stop. She fought harder. Her memories fueled her. Her home, the Guardian, the faces of those who had trusted her, everything she had become since touching that signal. With one final burst, she drove her light straight into Valkarath's chest. His body froze. The shadows cracked. And then he shattered. Into dust. Into silence. Into nothing. Mira dropped to her knees. The chamber around her trembled. Pieces of the sphere began to fall apart. She touched her chest. The glow was fading. Too much power. Too fast. She wouldn't survive this. But then she smiled. Because it was done. The galaxy was safe. The darkness was gone. And maybe that was enough. But just before the light faded completely, the Guardian spoke. You are not finished. A soft energy wrapped around her. The floor opened. A beam of light pulled her up. Away from the sphere. Away from the fire. Back into the ship. When she woke up, she was in the Guardian's heart chamber. Alive. Barely. But alive. The galaxy was quiet again. And she was its protector. Not chosen by fate, but chosen by her own courage.